the truth behind the LUKA Doncic trade. Now, this has been just like the weirdest. Like, I watch the NBA when I can, and I wouldn't say I'm an expert in the subject, but when I heard that, they were trading LUKA for Anthony Davis, I was like, what are you doing? Like, LUKA Doncic, franchise player. He's a player that you build a team around. Like, he's young. I think he's like 25. Anthony Davis, older, heavily injury prone, great player. When he's fit, great player. But, he's not somebody, I don't think you can really, really build a team around Anthony Davis. I don't understand. Like, and I heard that it was because the Mavs didn't want to give Doncic the Supermax. I mean, if you're not going to give Doncic the Supermax, who do you give the Supermax to in the league? Like, for me, I would say, with my fairly limited knowledge, he's probably one of the top 5 best players in the league right now. You've got LeBron, you've got Steph, but he's getting older. You've got KD, he's getting older. You've got, Ja Morant, Doncic, maybe Giannis. He's easily in the top 6, top 7 best players. Like, why do you trade him for Anthony Davis? So I've just been scratching my head thinking, why? Why have they made this trade? Like, what's going on?
Quote, I believe that defense wins championships. I believe that an all-defensive center and an all-NBA player with a defensive mindset gives us a better chance.
That must be the Mavs
We're
general
built
manager.
to win now and in the future. Nico Harrison.
That's the Mavs general manager.
Except
right?
you were already built to win now. LUKA literally just led the Mavs to the finals. The defense argument, I guess, kind of makes sense, but not when you give up your franchise player.
Yeah.
On midnight of February 2nd, a blockbuster deal shook the entire NBA world by storm.
Morning, the Lakers and Mavericks making it a blockbuster night. LUKA Doncic headed to the Lakers, Anthony Davis headed to the Mavericks in a seismic trade.
LUKA Doncic, the 25-year-old superstar, a top 5, arguably top 3 player in the league who has not even reached his prime yet, and on his way to becoming the face of basketball.
I mean, I did hear that they were concerned about his conditioning, but is that enough to give him up?
He should have been untouchable. Yet he got traded to the Lakers in a package that included a 31-year-old Anthony Davis. And
31, I didn't realize AD was that old. Yeah, this trade just looks worse and worse as more information comes out.
Max Christie, and only a single first-round pick. Overall, a very, very underwhelming trade for the Mavs, whose fans are now left wondering, what in
Why? Did Doncic ask to be traded? Like, that's the only thing I can think of here. Like, he insisted that he needed to get out. Like, he had to leave.
Why? Nico Harrison, the president and general manager of the Mavs, participated in a news conference on the day of the trade, with Dallas reporters just absolutely baffled at his decision. You can tell the entire conference was awkward as hell, with Jason Kidd trying his best to hide his frustration. My initial reaction to this deal was, like everyone else, I thought it was fake. There's no way the Mavericks traded away a generational talent, and I know some folks like to throw out the term generational a lot, but LUKA truly is a once-in-a-generation talent.
LUKA splits a double, keeps the dribble alive, all the way to the hoop, scoop to the hoop with a foul! Point 71 and 72!
I don't get it.
I then thought, well, this can't be right. There's no way, just no way any NBA executive would make this deal. My mind immediately went to, okay, something fishy is going on. This trade makes no sense for the Mavs. It screams some sort of conspiracy. There needs to be some sort of investigation.
Unless the Mavs, there's financial issues that, prevent them from being able to offer him a Supermax. Like, I just don't get it,
But perhaps maybe I haven't come to terms with the fact that the Lakers always end up with a superstar falling into their lap. In this video, I'm not gonna break down the LUKA and Davis trade. I don't want to talk about how each player will fit on their teams. That's boring. I want to take a look into the history of Nico Harrison. The impact of the Adelson family, who, if you don't know, they're the new owners of the Mavs, and they should be put under investigation. Along with the
Something fishy is going on here. This just doesn't make any sense.
circumstances surrounding LUKA DONCIC that caused the team to make a decision like this. There's way more to this trade that you're not understanding, and I've done some research, trust me. For those who don't know who Nico Harrison is, long before he attracted league-wide attention for this trade, he became infamous for a different reason. For 20 years prior to his arrival to the Mavericks, he worked for Nike. Harrison held different positions at Nike over his 2 decades there, but his most notorious moment happened in arguably the worst moment in the history of the company. 2013. Nike scheduled a meeting with Steph Curry. At the time, he was on the rise to becoming a superstar, but not yet there.
Is he the reason why Steph went to Under Armour?
They were basically trying to get him to sign with the company for his own signature shoe. Nico Harrison was the man in charge of the presentation, in which he completely botched in more ways than you can count. First, Harrison pronounced his name as Stefan, not Stefan. Then, when he was presenting his PowerPoint presentation, the slides displayed Kevin Durant's name.
He should have been fired. Like, I'm sorry, dude. There is no way you make such amateur mistakes, like in a high stakes moment like this. How wasn't he fired? Like, that is crazy. How do you have Kevin Durant on the PowerPoints?
Suggesting that they reused the same presentation they did for KD.
That's crazy.
And then he even called him Seth in various moments throughout the meeting.
What?
It turned into a complete mockery of Steph Curry, and this one presentation alone was all he needed for him to realize Nike, and especially Nico
Didn't
Harrison,
care.
does not give a crap about signing him.
That's
and thus,
unreal.
he signed with Under Armour instead.
That's unbelievable.
Now,
unbelievable. I'm sorry. I don't like calling for people to lose their jobs at all. I don't think it's, a good thing to do, but if there's a fireable, that deal probably cost Nike hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars.
I'm all for giving people second chances, but when Nico Harrison got appointed the president of the Mavs in 2021, he had zero experience in the front office at all.
What's going on here?
Usually, folks work their way up, or at least have some sort of previous experience working in the NBA front office, before getting promoted to be president.
This guy has some dirt on somebody big. That's my suspicion. He's got some big information.
So that was a surprise in itself. But considering the NBA is sponsored by Nike, and Nico worked there for like 20 years, perhaps there were some connections he tapped into to get that role.
But to get the
because
role
he
of
worked so closely with some of the NBA's biggest names like LeBron and Kobe in the past, he could help attract superstars to Dallas and play with LUKA.
But he's not attracting superstars. He's losing superstars.
Heck, the Kyrie trade was exactly that, as him and Nico had a previous relationship because of Kyrie's time with Nike. Harrison had a very successful few years in Dallas. It resulted in several appearances in the conference finals and one finals appearance. His instrumental decision to trade for Gafford and PJ Washington to play alongside LUKA were brilliant, and those trades catapulted them into legit contenders.
Against Gobert, tailed by McDaniels. Gafford! Up high, down hard!
It's weird. Why would he go from making some incredibly good trades to
doing
this? He's clearly a smart guy, and every indication suggested he was a great GM, and great at analyzing talent. So why?
Maybe LA have offered the Mavs something that is yet to come to public knowledge, but then it would have been part of the deal, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, if there was like a young, really highly rated prospect involved, it would make more sense, but you're trading him for AD, who great player that he is, but he's not, I can't really see him improving anymore. Like, I think he's kind of as good as he's going to be. Whereas LUKA, clearly at 25, could get much better.
Why did he do this?
Yeah.
Enter the Adelson family. Mark Cuban, one of the most voracious and enthusiastic owners in all of sports, sold the majority of his shares of the team to Miriam Adelson and her family. the Adelson family now owns 72.3% of the team, while Cuban still retains 27.7%. One point of note is the Adelson family built their wealth in the casino and resort business, and by purchasing the Mavs, they wanted connections to establish and expand their primary business into Texas. Even though gambling is banned in Texas, Adelson had a plan. Reportedly, according to an NBC article, quote, Miriam Adelson has made no secret of her push to bring casino gambling to the Lone Star State.
I mean, gambling, unfortunately, will become legalized, nationwide, inevitably. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And the reason why I say unfortunately is because as someone who did have a bit of a problem, when I say bit of a problem, I know how destructive it can be. It is wrecking people's lives, man. It really is. Sorry to get heavy, but it's the truth.
She pumped more than $2 million last year into a political action committee called Texas Sands, which donated lavishly to state legislators and swarmed the GOP-controlled Capitol with lobbyists. All of her efforts were to push Texas into legalizing casino gambling, which in turn would greatly benefit her family. By purchasing the Dallas Mavericks, it gives the Adelson family credibility. It gives them a foot in the door. It gives them power and influence in Texas.
So they don't really care about the Mavs, do they? They don't really care.
Which is what they want. In fact, they don't even care about basketball, with even Mark Cuban admitting, quote, they're not basketball people. So why does all this matter? How does all of this tie into the LUKA Doncic trade?
It's about the money, isn't it? It's about the bottom line. They just didn't want to give him the max. They didn't want to give him the supermax, did they?
Well, this is where my conspiracy mind comes in. I believe the Adelson family, whose main motivation is money and expanding their casino business, had a huge hand in the LUKA trade. By trading LUKA to Los Angeles, it gives them a new face of the franchise and solidifies their future with a 25-year-old superstar already on his way to becoming one of the greatest of all time. This leads to higher ticket prices, increased merchandise and revenue, more people coming into LA to watch LUKA, which creates more jobs and opportunities. Basically, LUKA's arrival to LA will bring in so much money to the city. A city that's already filled with the richest people on Earth. And what do rich Los Angeles folks love to do?
Gamble.
They love to take a day trip to Las Vegas to gamble. It's a 4-hour drive to Vegas, and with so much more money flowing into Los Angeles, as a result, more money will flow into Las Vegas casinos and resorts.
Oh, mate, I don't know about this, man. It's plausible, but to argue that they gave up their best player just on the hope that more people would go to LA to watch LUKA and then take that money to Vegas to gamble in their casinos, I think that's a stretch, man. I just think they didn't want to pay him the supermax. I just don't. It's plausible, but do you see what I mean? I don't know.
Which means more money for the Adelson family. This theory is compounded by the fact that, apparently, the Mavs only talked to the Lakers. The Lakers were the only team they were talking to about trading LUKA. They did not talk to anybody else, which is, yet again, highly suspicious.
It is weird.
Every team should be trying to get the best deal possible.
Of
so
course.
Wouldn't it make sense to, talk to more teams? Not settle for a trade like this? Surely they could have gotten some more first-round picks in return from somebody else.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if this can be proven, doesn't this break a bunch of rules? Fair play rules sort of thing? Shouldn't there be someone looking into this, at the NBA?
Add on even further, the Adelson family was also directly responsible for the Oakland Raiders relocating to Las Vegas. Though that situation was wildly different, but who's to say that they won't do it again? This time with Dallas. There's rumors around the league that Vegas would be the next expansion team, but what if Adelson finds a way to get there first? By relocating the Mavs. If you look at it from this perspective, the LUKA trade only benefits two parties involved. The Lakers, obviously, who have their new franchise player, and the Adelson family, who will benefit greatly from the new money flowing into LA, because they know it'll boost their Vegas businesses too. It doesn't benefit the Mavs. As much as I dislike Nico Harrison for making this deal, it literally makes no sense why he would do that, unless he got coerced by the owners to trade LUKA away.
But by losing LUKA, the Mavs brand takes a hit in terms of value because they're going to sell less tickets. You know, they're going to sell less tickets. They're going to win less games. The brand is going to become less valuable. So I guess if this is true, they're hoping that the increase in profits from their casino business will then offset any losses the team makes. I mean, they probably would make more money from their original business anyway. But why would you? Surely there's another way. Like, they could have got more. They could have got more from LA, you know, which would then kept the Mavs more competitive, because I don't see...
Just think about this from a roster perspective. Why would the Mavs even need Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
Over the past few years, they acquired Derek Lively from the draft and traded for Daniel Gafford in order to fill their holes at the center position, with the sole purpose of giving Luka help in the paint. And to give the Mavs a better defensive anchor, which they did. I mean, they turned into one of the best defensive teams in the league, even without Davis. Nico Harrison also made a brilliant trade to acquire Kyrie. He made all these moves in the last few years with the sole purpose of helping Luka. Yet now he trades him away? It doesn't make any sense.
This is super suspicious.
He's not this dumb. That's why I believe the owner stepped in and had some influence on this trade, because they definitely approved it. Most reports have stated that Luka had no idea this was coming, and he did not request a trade at all. I've heard some detractors believe that, oh, he wanted to go to LA all along, or whatever. But
I mean, I'm sure part of him would have liked to play in LA, but he doesn't seem like the kind of guy. I reckon he would have been happy to like spend the bulk of his career in Dallas. He was the face of the franchise. They love him over there. I don't see him pushing for this trade.
if you want a clear-cut reason why Luka would not request a trade, it's because of his Supermax contract. By the summer of 2025, if Luka stayed with the Mavs, he would have gotten a contract of 5 years, $345 million. But now that he got traded, he's no longer eligible for the Supermax. In fact, he's gonna get like $100 million less than he could have gotten. So he lost a crap ton of money. It doesn't make any sense for him to request a trade or sign with any other team. The other implication of this...
They didn't want to give him the max, man. I think that's what it is. I think it's just the straight up cash, the Supermax. I think the theory about the casinos is just too much of a stretch. What do you think?
Is perhaps the Mavs ownership did not want to pay him this money.
Yep.
There have been criticisms of Luka in particular, being out of shape and not working on his body enough. His various injury problems should not be that serious, yet his rehab has gone slower than expected. Maybe the ownership saw this and figured, hey, I don't want to pay this guy, so let's trade him. Not realizing Anthony Davis, for a long time, was the poster child for injuries.
Yeah.
Heck, remember when we used to call him Anthony Day to Davis? The injury excuse, it makes no sense, but behind the scenes, maybe Luka wasn't showing enough effort to getting healthy. And that was the reason for the trade? I don't know. It still sounds suspicious to me.
I mean, I will say, a player like Luka, who clearly, great player that he isn't in the best of condition. Players like that tend to not have the longest longevity. Like, LeBron is still playing and dominating at 40 because of, look at the condition he's in. Look how much he spends on his body. Luka, I mean, at 30, you would still think he would be a top player. You would still think he would be a top player, to be fair, at 30.
Reportedly, Rob Pelinka was in conversations with Nico Harrison for a month before the Luka trade happened. The two of them are close and maintained a deep relationship when Pelinka was an agent, and Harrison worked at Nike. Apparently, they used to talk about trading Luka all the time behind closed doors. Pelinka thought it was a joke at first, but the conversation soon became serious, and getting Luka became a reality. I'm gonna go as far as to say that Pelinka socially engineered Harrison to thinking that this is a good trade. Either way, the idea that Nico only talked to the Lakers and nobody else, that seems unbelievable.
Yeah.
But several reports confirmed it was true, as no other team knew this was happening.
So why would the Mavs not allow any conversation with another team? Why would they only want to deal with the Lakers? That kind of... that's such a, why? Why do you think they would do that? Why would they screw themselves out of the best deal possible? Unless they weren't getting something under the table, maybe.
In the modern day and age of technology and social media, you can kinda guess when a trade is about to happen because everyone reports on it. There's rumors going around all the time. Except for this LUKA trade. It came out of nowhere, and even right now, it's still perplexing. It's hard to find a bright side for the Mavs, but I guess they're still a good team, right? A duo of Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving surrounded by a cast of solid role players, they'll still be a playoff contender for the next few seasons. Considering their age, it won't last for long. Anyway, that's all, folks. What do you think?
Super weird. Super weird. I don't understand it. Like, why would you give up, a franchise player for so little? Like, why would you do that? Like, it's not like you're getting a franchise player back. I mean, AD, could he become maybe he could, but it just seems odd. Like, let's see what the comments are saying. They gave up on LUKA before the Pelicans gave up on Zion. Wow. Facts. The Mavs should definitely be investigated. This was such a BS trade. Owners like the Adelsons are ruining the sport for everyone. I mean, it's very suspicious, man. It's super suspicious. There's definitely a lot that's not reached the public domain yet. There's just a lot that's happened here. Whether it's the casino angle with the Adelsons wanting LUKA in LA to get more money into the... I don't buy that one. It's just too much of a stretch. I think more likely they looked at his conditioning and they thought, we don't want to give him the Supermax. The guy doesn't look after himself as much as we would like him to. I think that's probably the angle of it, which is still a bad decision. It's still a bad decision. I think players like LUKA, because they're so rare to come across, I think you do have to take the risk, because you got to the finals. You were close. You were so close to winning the chip. Who's to say with a couple of smart additions you get, you go one better? But now that the project is set back so far, and as the guy mentioned, your two best players, AD and Kyrie, they're both 30 plus. Like, you're going to have to rebuild the whole team, it's really soon. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.